We want you to learn from leaders in the field, stay inspired, and help you make learning stick for everyone. Welcome to Unleashed Learning TV. Welcome to Unleashed Learning TV and Unleashed Learning Radio for our podcast listeners. Now, if you and your team are committed to doing great work, even during disruptive times, we've got an important episode for you. Now, Melissa Woodhouse is a leader in the early education and care and outside school age care services. And today, Mel is managing early years programs at Hamilton's. Now, she's going to share with you how to embed practice, which can lower your collective stress and increase your effectiveness even during volatile and unpredictable times. If you're a leader in any way, this episode is for you. So Mel, welcome to Unleashed Learning TV.
Thank you. Thanks. It's good to be here.
As you know, what we do at Unleashed Learning is we work to help schools, businesses, and organizations learn a system that makes learning stick. So for their training, their presenting, or their teaching. But the second thing that we do is we help embed that system into the practice, right? So it's not just about learning something, we want it to last. And the reason I wanted to interview you is that early childhood educators and leaders are experts about embedding. You talk about it all the time. So I thought you could help leaders and teachers and schools and businesses kind of think about ways to embed great practice.
Great.
Cool?
Okay.
Cool?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I thought we could start with, how do you define embedment, like embedding? What does that mean in an EC space?
So I believe embedded practice is practice that has developed over time. It's purposeful, it's mindful, it's considered, and it then almost happens automatically. You don't really get to that sweet spot when you don't realise you're actually doing it. It just becomes part of your flow. So that's quality embedded practice. The opposite of that is the embedded practice that happens because nobody questions why we're doing things. And things just develop over time. We do this because this is always how we've done it. And I believe that there's a risk of us thinking that we have got embedded practice without really questioning why we're doing what we're doing, the way that we're doing it. And that's the sweet spot of finding the quality embedded practice.
There's almost a shadow side to it because embedded could happen because we just do stuff we're not thinking about.
Yeah.
But you're talking about really intentional, purposeful, thought through.
Absolutely.
That's really important, I think, for that definition.
Yeah.
So the next question I'm thinking from your leadership standpoint is I'm really thinking about how does helping to embed practice help create kind of long-term change? Because I'm assuming what you want to do is make things last. That's good stuff. Yeah. So getting that embedded piece, and how does that help you in your leadership work to over the long term?
So it just means that we become more proactive in the work that we do with the children and the families that we work with, rather than reactive, rather than every day you start the same, it starts again, it's almost a reset. If you've got embedded practice that informs the way we interact with our families, our children, our community, if the service and the program and the educators are really on the same path on why we do what we do, then your daily operating becomes a joy. And it becomes a learning for everybody and a growth opportunity for everybody, and everybody is sharing in those moments. So that's kind of where the magic happens, I believe. And if you are lucky enough to have a leader team that is on that journey with you as a leader, it makes your job so much easier, because rather than running around and making sure everything's okay, you trust that everything is going to be okay. You've got that embedded practice that guides everybody. And so your job then becomes to grow and develop and facilitate and challenge and all of those really awesome things that people become leaders for. They don't become leaders to be taskmasters and checklist people. We become leaders because we want to grow and develop ourselves as well as the people that we work with.
See why I wanted to interview. This is exactly what I talk to.
Yeah.
One of the things that schools and organizations that run the system and they've embedded it, they said that their stress levels are dropping.
Yeah, absolutely.
And what I heard you say was it almost becomes fun because we're not being proactive anymore. We're being we're not being reactive. Yeah. We're being proactive, right? So that kind of connects to what we're talking about, why embedding is so important. So let me ask the next question is, and we were talking about earlier, which I think is the $1 million question. How do you decide what you want to get embedded?
Yeah. So I think you need to start with who we work with and in the context of the community in which we work and what who are our families, who are our children, who are our educators, what is our thoughts around what quality is, and that's really going to guide how you start to question which practices you're looking at and why you're looking at those. It's absolutely imperative that we work within the context of our own community, and we're not trying to replicate something that you might have seen that somebody does really well. So I think in order to be able to decide what you look at, it's about who are we and really understanding our identity and who we are and how we connect within our community. Who are we here for? And the answer in early childhood is always the children and the families. And then how are we doing what we do to facilitate best outcomes for them?
Oh gosh, I could just eat this whole conversation. Because what you're not saying is, well, the state is saying X or this, they want this, and that's probably all happening. But you're really strategic about thinking who your learners are, who your families are, what the outcomes you want. And so you're really intentional about what you're doing based on what the context is.
I feel like we're kind of early childhood, and it's a broad statement I'm about to make, so I apologise if I offend anyone, but I think we kind of got lost in the doing. Mm-hmm. We've got the National Quality Framework, we've got our standards, we've got our curriculum frameworks, and we get so involved in having to do those. And I think what we've lost is the fact that if we understand who we're working with and we understand the community in which we're working with and we ask the critical questions and as a group we reflect, we're actually doing all of that anyway. It's not something extra. And embedding quality practice is not something extra we have to do. I think it's your starting point, and in doing that you actually achieve everything that is required from the state and the federal government and all of our paperwork that we have to do. And in having that embedded practice, really working through with your team, it means that when you do sit down to write a reflection, it's actually joyful because you can see your progress. It's not something I have to do because when the assessor comes in, they're going to want to see reflective practice. Reflective practice in action is palpable. You can actually see it. You don't need to prove on a piece of paper that you're doing it. My hope is that everybody gets to the point where as soon as you walk into an early childhood program, you see it and feel it and know it.
Isn't that, it makes me think about meaning and purpose and why people are doing the work they do.
Yeah.
Right? It's not to comply unless they believe in, there's times to comply, but to build and to make a change and make a difference. So what I hear you saying is that kind of when you decided what the embedded practice is, it actually is informing the whole operation.
Absolutely.
Which probably lowers your stress levels as a leader. Completely.
And it helps you work out in the 50 million things that you can get caught up in. It helps you work out what the priorities are because, you have a really strong sense of your purpose and your why, and you pick up every piece of paper and think, how is this helping me achieve my goal? How is this helping me achieve the goals of the group? Is it important? Isn't it important? Can I delegate it? Can I dump it? Those kind of things. It helps you. It absolutely helps you as a leader.
We've got a school in Melbourne and they're embedding the Unleashed Learning system, and then they had to go online and face-to-face, and some of the leaders said, I know now, I'm going to use a North American term, but I know where the North Star is.
Yeah.
And we've embedded this thing. So now what's happening is it's focusing, even on online now, and I'm not getting distracted. And then as more information's coming in, kind of like what you're talking about, they put it into that system rather than jumping to different things. I said, how's that helping? They said, it's lowering my stress level, the team is doing it, and so this is why we're doing it.
And I love that North Star. I think what happened to early childhood somewhere along the way is that North Star became good quality ratings, assessment and ratings. That North Star became something that I've seen online or something that I saw in a program that I visited and I want to replicate in my centre. We've lost the fact that we are our own unique program, and we're unique because of the users of that program and the community that we work in. And so that's where I think everybody needs to go back to and start. The rest will come if we have that really good understanding, if we're having conversations about who we are and what makes us special.
And then the quality frameworks become tools to enact
Absolutely.
that.
Something we use, not something we do.
There it is. Yeah. That's what we talk about Unleashed Learning all the time, that we use the system. It becomes what we're using that as a tool to get to where we're trying to go.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay, so I want to know what you kind of alluded to, but you have a million things on your plate as a leader. So what does it do when that embedded practice, which you kind of talked about, but the stress level for you and your own focus, if you know your team has shared language for this embedded practice, what's it do for you as a leader?
It makes the role more joyful. It hopefully then means that I'll stick around a bit longer and I won't burn out as a leader. It makes me want to see how far we can go. It becomes an infinite kind of quest, which I love, in terms of let's shoot for the moon and catch some stars on the way. I think we can, I think it makes it, as I said before, it really comes back to the true reason for wanting to be a leader or becoming a leader. Not about getting things done and checking things off a list. It's about making the people, growing the people that you work with, and hopefully the next lot of people that come through are smarter than that lot, and they just keep getting smarter and smarter and better, because when that happens, the outcomes for the children and the families and the communities in which you work with are absolutely impacted in such a positive way.
That's why I want to talk to you. I mean, it's the reason why we're doing the work, right? It's okay. So we talked about this earlier, and I want to ask a couple last quick questions. How do you determine, and you did mention this, but I want to talk about, again, more directly, there's bad practice that can be embedded.
Yeah.
So how are you, as a leader of a team, deciding what you want to embed rather than this is just how we do things?
So just because it is doesn't mean it has to be is my favourite mantra, and it's about picking everything out of that, almost like a bag that's been packed full of luggage as you travel down the road. You need to open up that bag and pick everything out and look at every practice, every policy, every sign on your wall, every way that you display the children's artwork, every interaction with children, every way you set up the environment, and ask, why are we doing this? Why are we doing it this way? How does this impact on the quality outcomes for the children? Does this align with our philosophy? You need to have a really strong understanding of what you believe what quality is and what you believe the role of an early childhood educator is. And as a team, you need to have discussed that. And then you get your why, and you unpack that bag and you shake it all out and you compare it to your why, and you keep the stuff that helps you and you toss the stuff that doesn't. And as a group, you have to commit to doing that and create a language where people feel safe to be able to remind people that, well, it might be the old bag. Have you picked up the most recent things that might be? It's like, yeah, there's ways that you can talk about it, but it really is a matter of committing to absolutely everything. And look, that can be hard, particularly if you come into a program where there's really deep embedded practice for a number of years. But I've got to tell you that it's worth it in the long run. And that fabulous saying, I don't know who said it, about change being hard at the beginning, messy in the middle, but beautiful at the end. And that is exactly what you get. So you've got to be happy with the messy.
Yeah, that's right.
Because the messy is the majority of the journey. And sometimes in early childhood we're perfectionists and we don't quite sit with messy well, but messy is required for change.
I would say trust the process.
Absolutely. It's your thing about
I would say trust the process. I was thinking also we've got a certification, with teachers, educators work on the certification process, and what they're doing is having to justify all their actions, and we'd say, why are you doing this based on the system?
Yeah.
So they have to justify all those things, and it will look different for different people.
Absolutely.
Right? And it's not a compliance system, it's a building innovative system. Okay, last quick question.
Sure.
I want to know, what does having an embedded practice take off your plate?
Worry, concern, stress, reaction, tiredness, fatigue, boredom, burnout. Takes all of that off everybody's plate.
This is why I'm here. So we always end with a question, so let me ask a question really quick. So Mel is here talking about embedded practice. You can see why I wanted to have you on the episode, or they can see that. And my question to you is this. What is an embedded practice that is in your system that's working well? So we'd love for you to share that. Some of the best conversations take place after the episode, and you can grab our free ebook while you're there. So Mel, I just think early childhood educators and leaders are leaders all over the place.
Absolutely.
And not just in the EC world. I think you can teach, and you are teaching all of us what this means. So thank you for what you do.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you for the work you do for the world. We will see you next time on Unleashed Learning TV. Bye, everybody.